This story is titled, "She Took a Break from Our Relationship, Found Lovers, and Wanted Me Back, but I Said No." Hi everyone, before we dive in, a quick favor. If you enjoy content like this, please hit the subscribe button. It's free, supports the channel, and make sure you never miss out on amazing videos. Alright, let's get started. Hey Reddit, you ever have someone flip your entire world upside down over takeout and a Netflix episode? Because that's exactly how my 5-year relationship with Elena started crumbling on a regular Wednesday night. Nothing special about it. Just me, her, and some leftovers from our favorite Thai place. But that's when she hit me with those ridiculous words. "I think we need a break." Now, I'm not the kind of guy who panics easily. I've built my life with steady hands. I own my house, have a solid career in IT, and like to keep things simple. That's why her little announcement threw me off for like half a second. Then it clicked. Elena wanted space. Fine, I thought. Let her have it. But she wasn't going to have it under my roof. I kept calm though. I put my fork down, looked her dead in the eye and said, "Okay, if you need a break, take it. But this is my house, so you'll have to pack your things and figure out where you're staying." The way she blinked at me, you'd think I'd suggested she move to another planet. "Wait, seriously?" she asked. "Yeah, seriously. What did she expect? For me to stick around while she found herself? If someone's unsure about you, why should you be the one to wait around for them to make up their mind?" I wasn't interested in being anyone's safety net. To her credit, she didn't argue much. Maybe she thought I'd fight for her to stay, or beg for an explanation. But I wasn't about to beg anyone to be in my life, not even Elena. By the end of the night, she packed a suitcase and called her sister to come pick her up. She stood at the door for a moment, looking like she wanted to say something. But I just opened the door and held it for her. That's the thing. If someone wants to leave, you let them. You don't hold on tighter and make them feel trapped. You let them go. Once the house was quiet, I sat in the living room, staring at the half-eaten pad thai on the coffee table. It didn't feel like some huge emotional scene. It was more like a shrug moment. I wasn't heartbroken or devastated. I was just annoyed. I'd built this life where Elena had every opportunity to be happy. And instead of talking to me about whatever was bothering her, she decided to take the easy way out. A break. The next day, I packed up the few things she left behind. Some toiletries, a couple of her favorite hoodies she always stole from me, and her dog-eared copy of Pride and Prejudice. I put everything in a box and stuck it in the hallway closet. If she wanted her stuff back, she could ask for it. I wasn't going to chase her down with a care package. Life without Elena didn't change much at first. I still got up at 6 a.m., went to the gym, and spent my days working on client projects. The house was quieter, but that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I had more time to think, more time to focus on myself. It wasn't like I didn't care about Elena. I just wasn't going to let her absence throw my entire life off balance. What did throw me off, though, was how easily she'd walked away. I started replaying the past few months in my head, wondering if I'd missed something. Were there signs she was unhappy? Were there moments I should have noticed her pulling away? I didn't think so. Our relationship wasn't perfect, but it wasn't on life support either. We didn't fight much. And when we did, it was over dumb stuff like what to order for dinner or who left the toothpaste cap off. Normal couple things. Elena never mentioned feelings tuck before. She never gave me any real warning that she was thinking about taking a step back. She just decided. And that's what annoyed me the most. Relationships are supposed to be partnerships. You don't just decide unilaterally to hit pause. You talk. You figure it out together. But she didn't give me that chance. She made her decision and expected me to sit around twiddling my thumbs until she was ready to come back. No thanks. Over the next few days, I started hearing from friends and family who'd caught wind of what happened. My sister called me first. "She left? Just like that?" she asked, sounding more shocked than I felt. I gave her the short version of the story, and she was quick to reassure me that I'd made the right call by not begging Elena to stay. "Don't let her walk all over you," she said. "If she doesn't know what she has, that's on her." Then there was Alex, my best friend and unofficial therapist. He swung by the house a couple of nights later to check on me. He wasn't one for pep talks, but he did point out the obvious. "You dodged a bullet, man. If she's this indecisive now, imagine how she'd act in a real crisis." That stuck with me. If Elena couldn't handle the everyday ups and downs of a relationship, what would have happened when life got tough? What if we'd been married? What if there were kids involved? It was better to find out now before things got any more complicated. By the end of the week, I felt like I'd made peace with the whole situation. If Elena wanted her break, she could have it. I wasn't going to chase after her or waste my time wondering what she was up to. That's the thing about people who say they need space. Half the time, it's not about finding themselves. It's about finding out if the grass is greener somewhere else. And if they think they can come back to you once they're done looking, they're dead wrong. I knew I deserved better than that, and I wasn't about to settle for someone who didn't see my worth. So I kept moving forward, confident that I'd made the right choice. And honestly, it felt pretty damn good. It didn't take long for people to start talking. When someone moves out, especially when you live in a close-knit neighborhood and share a lot of mutual friends, the whispers spread fast. I wasn't the type to go around announcing, "Hey, Elena wanted a break, so she's gone now." But apparently, she didn't have the same level of discretion. At first, it was just small things. A friend of mine, Jordan, texted me about a week after Elena left. "Hey man, hope you're doing okay. I ran into Elena at the dock last night. She seemed different." Different? What was that supposed to mean? I didn't reply right away because I didn't feel like unpacking the subtlety. I didn't ask Jordan for more details either. Let her be different. She wasn't my problem anymore. But then another friend, Lauren, called me a couple of days later. "I wasn't sure if I should tell you this," she started, which is always a great opening line when someone's about to spill something you probably don't want to hear. "I saw Elena out with some guy at the tavern last night. Looked kinda cozy, you know?" Cozy. That word stuck with me. Not because I cared what she was doing. I meant it when I said she could have her space. But because it confirmed something I already suspected. This break wasn't about self-discovery or whatever she claimed. It was about seeing what else was out there. And clearly she wasn't wasting any time. I thanked Lauren, told her I appreciated the heads up, and hung up. I wasn't mad, at least, I didn't think I was. I wasn't jealous either. If anything, I felt a little insulted. 5 years together, and the first thing she does after leaving is hit up some bar with another guy? It wasn't even about me wanting her back. It was about basic respect. The whispers didn't stop there. Over the next week, more people started chiming in with their unsolicited updates. My neighbor, Janice, caught me outside while I was mowing the lawn. "Hey, Noah," she said, leaning over the fence like she had a juicy piece of gossip to share. "I saw Elena out jogging with some guy yesterday morning. He's new, right? I haven't seen him around before." I just shrugged. "Probably," I said. "Doesn't really matter to me." Janice gave me this look, like she couldn't tell if I was genuinely unbothered or just pretending to be. But that was the truth. It didn't matter. If Elena wanted to jog around with random guys or play the field, that was on her. I had better things to worry about, like keeping my lawn in check and focusing on my own life. The funny thing was, I wasn't even trying to find out what Elena was up to. People just kept telling me. It's like when someone tells you not to think about something, and suddenly it's all you can think about. I didn't ask for these updates, but they kept landing in my lap anyway. The most telling sign, though, came from Elena herself, or rather, her social media. I wasn't stalking her, let's get that straight. But one night, I opened Instagram to check something, and her profile popped up in my feed. You know how the algorithm works. It shows you what it thinks you want to see. Apparently, it thought I wanted to see Elena's stories. There she was, laughing in the background of someone else's photo, sitting across from a guy I didn't recognize. He had that try-hard look, fitted shirt, perfect stubble, the kind of guy who probably spends more time taking selfies than actually enjoying life. They were at some trendy restaurant downtown, one of those places Elena always wanted us to go but never bothered to actually plan. Seeing her there, smiling like she didn't have a care in the world, made me shake my head. It wasn't that I felt hurt, I didn't, but it was disappointing in a way I didn't expect. After these years together, I'd have thought she'd take at least a little time to reflect or, I don't know, show some respect for what we had. Instead, she was out there acting like a single woman who'd never been in a relationship. It was like I didn't exist. I closed Instagram and didn't look at her profile again after that. I didn't need to. Whatever she was doing, she could keep doing it. I had no interest in being part of her audience. One thing that did bug me, though, was how she framed the situation to people. A mutual friend, Rachel, called me one evening. "So, Elena told me you two are taking a break," she said, her voice laced with skepticism. "But she made it sound like it was your idea." My idea? That made me laugh. "Rachel, I don't know what she told you, but let's be clear. Elena asked for the break, not me. I just told her she couldn't stick around here while she figured it out. She needed space, so I gave it to her." Rachel sighed. "Yeah, that's not how she's spinning it. She's acting like you pushed her out or something." That didn't surprise me. Elena always had a way of twisting things to make herself look like the victim. I wasn't going to waste my energy correcting her narrative, though. If people wanted to believe her version of events, fine. The people who mattered knew the truth, and that was enough for me. The most ironic part of all this? The more I heard about Elena's escapades, the more confident I felt in my decision to let her go. She wasn't the person I thought she was. Or maybe she was, and I just hadn't been paying attention. Either way, I didn't feel like I'd lost anything. If anything, I felt like I'd dodged a long-term headache. Every time someone told me about another guy she was spotted with, I'd just nod and move on. It became a joke between me and Alex. "Man, she's going through them like a buffet," he said one night. I laughed because it wasn't far from the truth. Elena wasn't finding herself. She was just trying to fill whatever void she felt with attention from random guys. And that wasn't my problem anymore. By the end of the second week, the whispers started to die down. Maybe people got tired of keeping me updated. Or maybe Elena's antics weren't as interesting anymore. Either way, I felt a sense of relief. I didn't need to hear about her life. I was too busy living mine. Here's the thing. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Elena showed me she wasn't serious about us. She wanted to see what else was out there, and I wasn't about to stop her. But I wasn't going to wait around for her either. I had my house, my life, and my dignity. And that was worth more than any relationship with someone who didn't know what they wanted. 3 weeks after Elena left, I got a text from her out of nowhere. Just 4 words. "Can we meet up?" "No." "Hello." "No. How are you?" Just straight to the point. Honestly, I laughed when I saw it. After everything, now she wanted to talk. I wasn't about to jump at the chance to sit down and rehash whatever nonsense was going on in her head. But I'm not one to leave things unresolved either, so I replied, "When and where?" She suggested the park we used to go to all the time. This little spot downtown where we'd sit for hours, pretending life wasn't as hectic as it was. I agreed, mostly because I wanted to see what excuse she'd try to pull out of her hat this time. Part of me already knew this wasn't going to be an apology. It'd be some half-baked attempt to justify her actions. The day of the meeting, I showed up 10 minutes early. Not because I was eager, but because I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of arriving first and feeling like she had the upper hand. I grabbed my coffee on the way and sat at a chair near the big fountain, sipping slowly as I waited. When she came, I noticed 2 things. First, she looked like she'd been overthinking everything. Hair tied up, no makeup, wearing that oversized sweater she always reached for when she felt guilty about something. Second, she looked smaller somehow. Not physically, but in a way that made it clear she wasn't as confident as she'd been when she walked out of my house 3 weeks ago. She spotted me, waved awkwardly, and made her way over. I didn't stand up. I just leaned back in my chair and nodded. If she wanted to talk, she could do the work. I wasn't about to make this easy for her. "Thanks for meeting me," she started, sitting down. I didn't reply. I just raised an eyebrow and waited for her to get to the point. Let her squirm a little. She deserved it. She launched into this long, rambling explanation about how she'd been feeling lost and confused when she asked for the break. She tried to spin it like she was doing me a favor by stepping away to figure herself out. "I didn't want to drag you down while I was sorting through my feelings," she said, avoiding eye contact. That one made me chuckle. Drag me down? I wasn't the one who needed sorting out. My life was stable. She was the one who couldn't figure out what she wanted. And somehow, she'd managed to convince herself that leaving was a selfless act. "I just needed time," she continued, "to see if I could be the best version of myself. For us. For us." Like she'd been doing all this soul-searching for my benefit. I almost rolled my eyes. When she finally stopped talking, "So," I said, keeping my tone neutral, "how'd that time work out for you?" That threw her off. She blinked a few times, clearly not expecting me to be so blunt. "It's been enlightening," she said hesitantly. "I realized that I was taking you for granted, that I wasn't appreciating everything you bring to the relationship." I didn't say anything, just nodded for her to continue. I wasn't about to help her dig herself out of this hole. "And, she added, her voice getting quieter, "I made some mistakes during the break." Mistakes. That was the word she chose. Not choices or decisions. Mistakes, like everything that happened was some kind of accident. "I heard about your mistakes," I said calmly, not letting any emotion show. "People talk, Elena. I know about the bar, the restaurant, the jogging partner." Her face turned red, and she started stammering. "I didn't mean for it to happen like that. I thought I needed to see if I was missing something." I shook my head. "You weren't missing anything. You had everything you needed, and you threw it away to see if you could find someone better. That's on you." She looked like she wanted to cry, but I didn't care. I wasn't going to comfort her. She was the one who chose to walk out, and now she had to deal with the consequences. I realize now how much I care about you, she said, her voice shaky. I want us to work things out. I want to come home. There it was. The big reveal. She wanted to come back, but not because she'd suddenly realized my worth, because the fantasy she'd been chasing didn't live up to her expectations. Maybe the guys she was seeing didn't treat her the way I did. Maybe they weren't as patient or as stable. Whatever the reason, it didn't matter. She wasn't asking to come back because she loved me. She was asking because I was her safe bet. No, I said simply, leaning back in my chair. She blinked, clearly not expecting that response. No? That's right, I said. You wanted a break and you got it. But you don't get to walk back into my life just because things didn't go the way you thought they would. She tried to argue, to plead her case, but I wasn't interested. I stood up. Take care of yourself, Elena, I said before leaving. I didn't look back. I didn't wait to see if she'd follow me or call after me. As far as I was concerned, that chapter was closed. She'd made her choices, and now she had to live with them. If there's one thing I've learned from this, it's that you can't let someone treat you like an option. If they don't know your worth, you don't need to stick around waiting for them to figure it out. You move on, and you don't look back. And that's exactly what I plan to do. After that park meeting with Elena, I felt like a weight had been lifted. It wasn't just about turning her down or walking away. It was about reclaiming my own sense of worth. I hadn't realized how much I'd been carrying since she first said she needed a break. But now, I was done. No second guessing, no lingering doubts. The first thing I did when I got home was clear out the hallway closet. That box of her stuff, it all went into the trunk of my car. I drove straight to her sister's place and left it on the porch without a word. No text, no note. She could deal with it on her own time. I wasn't about to have her lingering in my space any longer than necessary. Over the next few days, I started settling into a new rhythm. My house felt different without Elena's presence, but not in a bad way. It was quieter, sure, but also more peaceful. I didn't have to worry about her passive-aggressive sighs when I left a dish in the sink, or her endless stream of suggestions about how I could improve the house. The house was mine again, and I made it a point to make it feel like mine. I rearranged the furniture in the living room, replaced the throw pillows she'd insisted on buying, and even swapped out the shower curtain. Small changes, but they made a big difference. Every little adjustment felt like a step toward reclaiming my space. One night, Alex came over to hang out. He hadn't seen the house since Elena left, and the first thing he said when he walked in was, "Man, it feels way better in here now. Like, I don't know, lighter?" I laughed. "Yeah, it's amazing what happens when you take out the source of the negativity." He smirked. "Dude, you're thriving, and I'm here for it. What's the plan now? Bachelor pad vibes?" I shook my head. "Nah, I'm not turning this into some party house. I just want to focus on me for a while. You know, get back to what makes me happy." Work became another area where I really started to thrive. Without the constant distractions of a messy relationship, I found myself diving deeper into projects and actually enjoying them again. My focus was sharper, my productivity shot up, and I started getting recognition for it. My boss even pulled me aside one day to say, "Whatever you're doing differently, keep it up. It's paying off." Funny how cutting the dead weight from your personal life can make everything else fall into place. The real shift, though, was mental. I started noticing how much clearer my head felt without Elena's drama taking up space. I wasn't constantly questioning myself or trying to figure out what she wanted or needed. I wasn't worrying about whether something I said or did would set her off. Of course, there were still moments where I thought about her. It wasn't like she'd completely disappeared from my mind. But those moments were fewer and farther between as the weeks went on. When I did think about her, it wasn't with anger or sadness. It was more like indifference. That indifference became even more solidified when mutual friends brought her up in conversation. One friend mentioned seeing her at a party, and all I said was, "Good for her." I didn't ask for details, didn't care to know who she was with or what she was doing. It didn't matter anymore. By the time a month had passed since our last meeting, I felt like a completely different person. Not because I'd changed, but because I'd finally gotten back to being myself, the version of me that didn't have to compromise for someone else's comfort. One of the best parts of this whole journey was realizing how much stronger I was than I'd given myself credit for. When Elena left, I could have let it break me. I could have spiraled, wallowed in self-pity, or tried to win her back. But I didn't. I stood tall, kept moving forward, and built a better life for myself in the process. It wasn't about proving anything to her, or to anyone else for that matter. It was about proving something to myself. And I did. Sometimes, the best thing you can do for yourself is let go of what's holding you back. Whether it's a toxic relationship, a dead-end situation, or just a mindset that's keeping you stuck, letting go can be the most liberating thing in the world. For me, that meant saying goodbye to Elena and everything she represented, and it was worth it. And now, standing taller than ever, I can say with complete confidence, I made the right choice. It had been about 6 weeks since Elena and I had any kind of contact. I wasn't checking her social media, I wasn't wondering what she was up to, and I definitely wasn't missing her. To me, that chapter was closed. So when I got a text from a random number saying, "Hey, this is Ryan. Can we talk? It's about Elena," I almost didn't respond. Ryan? Who the hell was Ryan? I wasn't interested in any drama, and the idea of getting sucked into Elena's orbit again made me shake my head. But curiosity had me. I texted back a simple, "What do you want?" His response came quick. "It's better if we talk in person. Can we meet?" I had no idea what this guy wanted, but something about the message felt off. If it were Elena reaching out, I wouldn't have given her the time of day. But this was different. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a cafe downtown the next day. Worst case, I figured, I'd waste 30 minutes of my life. Best case, I'd get some clarity on why this guy thought it was necessary to talk to me. The next afternoon, I walked into the cafe and spotted him right away. He was sitting at a corner table, fidgeting with his cup. Early 30s, clean cut, one of those guys who probably spends half his life on LinkedIn. I sat down across from him, not bothering with any small talk. "You're Ryan?" I asked, and he nodded, looking more nervous than I expected. "Yeah, thanks for meeting me," he said, shifting in his seat. "I wasn't sure if I should reach out, but I felt like you deserved to know the truth." "The truth?" I leaned back in my chair and crossed my arms. "All right then, what's the truth?" Ryan took a deep breath, like he was gearing up to confess something big. "So, I've been seeing Elena," he started, his eyes glued to the table. Or I was, anyway. I raised an eyebrow but didn't say anything. No surprise there. I already knew Elena had been jumping from guy to guy since she left. The difference was, I hadn't cared enough to put faces or names to any of them. Ryan was just another name on the list. He must have noticed my lack of reaction because he kept talking, words tumbling out faster now. The thing is, when we started seeing each other, she told me you two were done. Like, completely done. She said the break was just a formality, and that you were emotionally checked out. I almost laughed at that. Emotionally checked out? I repeated, shaking my head. Yeah, that's not how it went down. She asked for the break. I told her to pack her bags. End of story. Ryan looked genuinely uncomfortable, which frankly, I found satisfying. He was starting to realize he'd been played. She made it sound like you were the one who didn't care, he admitted. Like she had no choice but to move on. Classic Elena, twisting the narrative to make herself look like the victim. It didn't surprise me, but it did confirm one thing. She hadn't changed. Not even a little. So why are you telling me this now? I asked, leaning forward slightly. What's the point? Ryan sighed, running a hand through his hair. Because I started noticing things. Little things that didn't add up. She'd mention you in passing, like you were still in the picture somehow. She'd tell stories about your house, about things you used to do together, and it didn't make sense if she was really over you. I didn't say anything, letting him keep digging his own hole. The longer he talked, the more apparent it became that he'd been strung along just like I had, except I'd woken up to it a lot sooner. She wasn't honest with either of us, he continued. She made me think you were the bad guy, but now I see it. She was keeping her options open, playing both sides. And when things between us started falling apart, she started talking about wanting to go back to you. There it was. The real reason he wanted to meet. Ryan wasn't here to clear his conscience. He was here because he'd been burned, and he didn't want to go down alone. Let me get this straight, I said, my voice calm but firm. She told you we were done, made you think I didn't care, and then tried to use me as a backup plan when things with you didn't work out? He nodded, looking sheepish. Pretty much. I leaned back in my chair and let out a low chuckle. Sounds like you've had a rough time, man. But here's the thing. I already knew she was like this. That's why she's not in my life anymore. Ryan looked surprised, like he expected me to blow up or feel betrayed. But why would I? Elena had shown me exactly who she was. I didn't need Ryan to validate what I already knew. For a moment, we sat there in silence. Ryan fidgeted with his cup again, clearly unsure of what to say next. Finally, he looked up at me and said, I just thought you should know. I didn't want you to think you were crazy or anything. Crazy? I repeated with a smirk. I'm not the one who got played. I saw through her the moment she asked for that break. You, on the other hand. I let the sentence hang, letting him feel the weight of his own choices. To his credit, Ryan didn't try to defend himself. He just nodded, like he knew he'd screwed up by getting involved with her in the first place. When we finally stood up to leave, Ryan hesitated for a moment before extending his hand. I considered ignoring it but decided to shake it anyway. No point in holding a grudge against someone who was just as much a victim of Elena's games as I'd been. Good luck, he said, his voice quiet. I hope you find someone who deserves you. You too, I replied, though I wasn't sure he'd learned his lesson yet. On the drive home, I couldn't help but laugh at how messy the whole situation had become. Elena thought she could keep both of us on a string, but instead she ended up with neither. It was poetic, really. She'd played herself. After my little chat with Ryan, I was done. Done with Elena, done with her drama, done with everything that even remotely involved her. I'd thought the door had already been closed when I walked out of that park, but meeting Ryan put the final nail in it. The confirmation that she had been stringing both of us along, that was all I needed to wipe my hands clean of her nonsense for good. But of course, Elena wasn't about to let things end quietly. A couple of days later, she texted me again. Hey, can we please talk? I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I really want us to work this out. I didn't even bother replying. What was there to talk about? She didn't get to come crawling back just because things didn't work out the way she wanted. Silence was the only response she deserved. Ignoring her didn't stop her from trying, though. Over the next week, she sent more texts. Some were apologies, full of self-pity and regret. I know I messed up. I wish I could take it all back. Others were attempts to guilt me into responding. I just need closure. Don't I deserve that? No, she didn't. Closure wasn't something I owed her. Then came the calls. I'd see her name pop up on my phone screen, and every time I'd hit decline without a second thought. It was almost laughable how desperate she was getting. She'd burned every bridge between us, and now she was scrambling to rebuild them with empty words. I wasn't buying it. One night, she showed up at my house. I was in the middle of a woodworking project in the garage when I heard a knock at the door. At first, I thought it was Alex, dropping by unannounced like he sometimes did. But when I opened the door and saw Elena standing there, I sighed. She looked different. Not in the I've been working on myself kind of way, but in the I'm not handling this well kind of way. Her hair was messy, her eyes were red, and she had this pitiful look on her face that might have worked on someone else. But not me. What do you want, Elena? I asked, leaning against the doorframe. She hesitated, probably trying to come up with the perfect thing to say, but all that came out was, I miss you. I almost laughed. Miss me? The guy she thought she could keep on standby while she tested out her little flings? Yeah, no thanks. I don't know what you want me to say, I told her. You made your choice and I made mine. I made a mistake, she said quickly, her voice trembling. I thought I needed something different, but I didn't. I had everything I needed with you, and I was too blind to see it. I crossed my arms and gave her a long, hard look. You think you can just show up here, say a few nice words, and I'll forget everything you did? That's not how it works, Elena. She started to cry then, tears streaming down her face as she tried to plead her case. I didn't know what I was doing. I was confused and I got caught up in my own head. I'm sorry, Noah. I really am. Can't we just start over? Her tears didn't move me. They might have worked on Ryan or whatever other guy she'd been messing with, but I wasn't about to fall for it. Starting over wasn't an option. I'm not interested, I said firmly. You wanted space, you got it. You wanted to explore other options, you did. Now you're dealing with the consequences of your actions. That's not my problem. She stood there for a moment, stunned into silence. Then she tried one last angle. What about everything we built together? Doesn't that mean anything to you? Look, I said, my voice calm but firm. I don't hate you. I'm not angry anymore. But I'm not going to let you back into my life just because you realized you made a mistake. You need to move on, Elena. I have. Her face crumpled, and for a moment, I thought she was going to argue again. But instead, she just nodded, wiping her tears with the sleeve of her hoodie. I'm sorry, she said quietly, for everything. I didn't respond. What was there to say? I closed the door as she walked away, not bothering to watch her go. I felt nothing. No sadness, no anger, no regret. Just relief. She was out of my life for good, and that was exactly where she needed to stay. After that night, she didn't try to contact me again. Maybe she finally got the message, or maybe she was too embarrassed to keep trying. Either way, I didn't care. My life was better without her, and I wasn't about to let her back in. I started planning a trip I'd always wanted to take but never had the time for. Life felt full again. Not because of anyone else, but because I was building it on my own terms. No games, no drama, just peace. Here's the thing. People like Elena don't change. They might say all the right words, cry all the right tears, but at the end of the day, their actions speak louder. And her actions told me everything I needed to know. She didn't value what we had. She thought she could walk away, try something new, and come back when it suited her. But that's not how life works. Not with me, anyway. I don't regret the time we spent together, but I also don't miss it. That chapter of my life is closed, locked, and the key's been thrown away. If she's smart, she'll learn from this and do better with the next guy. But me? I've already moved on. As for Elena, the first I heard about her downfall came from Janice, my nosy neighbor, who had a knack for keeping tabs on everyone in the neighborhood. "Noah," she said, "did you hear about Elena?" I hadn't, of course, because I wasn't going out of my way to keep tabs on her. "What about her?" I asked, more out of politeness than genuine interest. Janice lowered her voice like she was about to spill state secrets. Apparently, she lost her job. Something about messing up a big project and getting into it with her boss. I just nodded, not bothering to say much. I wasn't going to gloat about her misfortune. Not out loud, anyway. Over the next couple of weeks, more stories about Elena started trickling in, each one worse than the last. First, it was the job. Then, I heard through a mutual friend that her living situation wasn't going well either. Turns out she'd been staying with her sister after our breakup, and things had gotten tense. Her sister apparently got tired of Elena's freeloading and told her she needed to find her own place. From what I gathered, Elena wasn't exactly drowning in options. She'd burned a lot of bridges, and most of the people she'd leaned on in the past weren't interested in helping her anymore. She ended up renting a room in some sketchy apartment across town, far from the cushy life she'd been used to. Inside, I couldn't help but feel a little vindicated. She'd been so eager to walk away from the stability I'd offered her, only to end up sinking her own ship.